And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michiels. Welcome to the greatest show on the interwebs. We're joined tonight by Sean Nafker. He is one of the moderators of the show. Craig Taylor's also with us, representing Resurgence PPG tonight. We're also joined by Anthony Dalton, who is pretty much just sitting by the beach, I'm sure, somewhere here in Southern California. And also, we are joined by a very special 100th episode special guest, Eric Dufour. Eric is a legend in the sport, and we're going to talk a little bit about his accolades and some of his achievements in the sport and what he's brought in paramotoring and free flight and all kinds of good stuff. And so we're gonna dive right in. I do want to do an order of business very quickly. And just say thanks to all the sponsors of the show. Show is brought to you by Nebraska PPG, Josh Bowden and his team in Nebraska. They have all kinds of great things for you. If you're in the Nebraska area and you want to get training, sign up. There's a link in the description. Show is also brought to you by Resurgence PPG. If you haven't checked them out, go to the website, resurgenceppg.com. This show is also brought to you by Mike Cotter and Fly My PPG. FlyMyPPG.com is the website if you want to get a hold of those guys. They are setting up training for, I believe, the end of January and February already. So get on that list if you're in the Michigan area. That's FlyMyPPG.com. Show's also brought to you by Paraorange Products. Paraorangeproducts.com is the website that you're going to want to check out. Larry is the guy that you're going to want to reach out to if you're interested in buying some stuff from there. Show's also brought to you by ppgsmoke.com. Ryan Roberts and his team is making all kinds of great leaps and bounds for the sport, and you're going to find all kinds of cool stuff if you're a paramotor pilot or if you're a free flight pilot. I've got all kinds of fun stuff from him, and so check out his website. We are doing a contest with him. The contest involves you filling out a contest form on the website at paraglidingtalk.com. Go check that out and get your name on the list, and you could be a winner chicken dinner. Show is also brought to you by Tri-State Skywalkers. Brandon McCloud has set up this club, and I want to encourage you, if you're not in a flying club, to get involved. It's a great way to have camaraderie, and you can learn some stuff from the other pilots, and I think it's a great thing. Go check out their link to the website or to their Facebook in the description, Tri-State Skywalkers. Show is also brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors in the Indiana area, Kevin will help you out and get you in the air. Go check out the website and the sponsors of the show if you're interested in sponsoring the show, for maybe you want to advertise your school on the show. There's also a new guy that joined. It's Travis Burns and Kyle Mooney. They have a school, and there's a link in the description for them for their school. And One Up Adventures is the website. That's ONEUP Adventures.com. One Up Adventures. Go check out their website. Appreciate you guys jumping on if you're watching and becoming a sponsor of the greatest talk show on Thursday nights on the internet. So glad that you guys are here, by the way. And I want to just give a special thanks to Eric for agreeing to come on the show. And it was kind of just a short notice thing. I was like, man, if we're going to have episode 100, this has to be a really good show. I don't know how we're going to do it. We need to make this happen. And actually, it was Kyle Mooney who sent me a picture, and he said, this is the guy you should have on the show. And man, was he right. I'm so glad that you're here, and welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I want to talk real quick about some of your accolades, and I'm gonna kind of just rattle these off for a second, and then we'll talk about some of the things that you have brought to the sport. But you started off in general aviation, and then eventually you got into skydiving, and then became an instructor of skydiving. He's a registered sport pilot at the age of 63. A sport pilot is not it's no game. He's also a Transport Canada ultralight instructor. He's a USPPA training committee member and instructor examiner. And he's got just a whole list. We're going to talk about some of the things, the achievements that he's made, an amazing resume for flying. How did you end up in paragliding, flying paramotors?
Well, it all started with skydiving. I was starting to skydive about 18, 19 years old. I became an instructor in skydiving, which led me to wanted to learn how to fly planes because we're taking the planes all the time to skydive. So I did skydiving for a few years, somewhere around 800 jumps, and became an instructor. So this brought me to fly airplanes. I said, I got to know how to fly this airplane. I'm always in an airplane. So I finally decided to take my airplane private pilot license. And I kept jumping for a while. And then finally, I said, okay, it would be a great life if I became a skydiving instructor and own my own airplane, my own skydiving center. So it was always an idea that I wanted to achieve it, and working in that sport, that kind of sport. I didn't know paragliding at that time, but things led to another one. You have a family, you have kids, so it's kind of difficult to realize all your dreams. But I never stopped dreaming about becoming either an instructor in skydiving. But when paragliding came, I was having a job and I couldn't skydive as much. So I saw in a magazine a paraglider, and I said, well, it looks kind of interesting. So I decided to do some paragliding because now I didn't have to go to the airport, wait for my friend to skydive with, and I had a job where I could not do skydiving as much. So I decided to paraglide. And this it started actually. I did some paragliding for a season or two. And then in a magazine, because I'm French, in a French magazine, that's where the sport came from, pretty much. I saw a paramotor, a guy with a paramotor in his back. That was it. I said, that's it. I got my tool. I got my plane. I can do what I want. I don't need anybody around. And I became, interested in paramotor now. From now on, I decided to keep flying and people were asking me, how do you do this? And one thing led to another. I started to teach friends, and I bought a couple of units and became a dealer for adventure at the time and started to teach people part-time. And that's how I became interested in making a living at doing paramotor full-time. It took me a few years before, of course, that, start to work fine for me.
And so you, at some point, you moved to the United States.
Yeah, because see, I was teaching in the summer, but in Quebec, Canada, it's not a very long summer. And to make a living at paramotor, as we know, is not very easy. But if you're going back now 28 years ago, it was not any easier, believe me. So it took me a few years before I could do a part-time business and becoming a serious business enough to say, I got to do something about it. So I decided to let go my normal job. I was in the restaurant business, and I came to the United States for the winter because there's nothing I could do in Canada in the winter. It was just too cold to teach paramotor. But I did fly in the winter. I was a maniac. I was flying all the time trying to promote the sport. It's so cold. So I decided, oh, let's go and see somewhere where it's nice and warm. So we came to Florida and went all the way to California, traveled all the country, and got to know a lot of people and teach. I was teaching there. And then finally came back to Florida and decided now to make it a full-time job, and brought my two kids, two daughters and my wife here. And we had a green card and started to work in paramotor.
Okay, that's great. Florida. So where are you at now?
I'm Florida. It's called
Okay.
Grant. It's on the East Coast, at about an hour, 10 minutes from Orlando on the
Okay.
East Coast. It's called Valkyria. It's an airport, small, nice airport. And you see the ocean, you see the water once you're in the air. It's a beautiful place.
Got it. Okay, so you're the designer of the first generation of the SD paramotor, the model, and it stands for Safe, Strong Design.
Yeah, at the
Talk
time.
about that a little bit. How did that
Okay.
happen?
At the time, we didn't have a lot of manufacturers. We had like two or three or four brands at the most. And they were very, very small in Europe mostly. And the brand that I had to teach with was a very, at the time, okay, but weak. So if you teach paramotor and then you keep breaking stuff because it's not very solid, I decided to build my own. And that's how we start with this SD for strong and safe and simple design. So we got a bigger cage, stronger cage, and we had a unit that we could teach with. That's all.
And who did you reach out to for design and getting some of this stuff going?
You have to use you have to use a lot of your contact and your friends. You go to see a mechanic when you don't know nothing about two strokes. And then when you want to design a paramotor, now you do like everybody else is doing. Still nowadays, you copy something, you try to improve it, right? So you go to see a welder. You say, hey, can you get me some aluminum tubing? I'm going to get something better. And finally, everywhere you find somebody who can weld aluminum. And then one thing, brings another, and you get a better unit, and then you copy another unit, and people copy you. And that's always been like this in the sport. And now we have a lot more innovation nowadays. But if you're going back again 25 years ago, that's all we did.
People probably don't realize how much your contribution to American paramotoring, you've brought a ton of people into the sport through instruction, your exampleship, the standards that you've implemented that were not only your own, but many years of learning and putting things together. Do you have any books or anything that you've put down on paper?
Now, a couple of years ago, I was in the process of maybe trying to write a book because I have a lot of stories. And then somebody was interested in writing this book, but it never became a reality. But I had all the script done. And I think it would be probably interesting and fun because there's a lot of good stories that, you go in 28 years of teaching and seeing and traveling all over the world. So yes, maybe eventually a book, but I'm still doing it. I'm still working. I thought maybe when I retire, I don't think I will retire because I like it, and I still going to teach until I'm really too old to do it. So maybe a book will eventually be something, a project.
And so you started it, but you think, is it going to come to pass?
I hope to find a good writer. English not being my first language, I would need a paramotor pilot or a woman and or a guy, because the person that was supposed to write my book was a lady, and she was a really good paramotor pilot because I trained her. And in exchange, we had this agreement that she would write a book for me, but it never came through. But eventually, I'll find somebody. I have a few other people, and you need to find some time also to tell your story and to write about it.
Do you know Phil Russman?
Yeah, I know him well.
Okay. He with uh, Jeff Goen
Yeah, of course.
put a book together. They might be a guy that you can or guys you
Maybe,
can reach out
maybe.
to.
Jeff is an excellent writer. He's been doing this for years. I wish I had this talent, but again, if I did it in French, maybe that would be a bit better. But again, I'm not a good writer. I need somebody who can write well.
What do the people in France think about paramotoring? Are
Oh,
they
in
as
France, well, this is the country where there are the most pilots, and this is where I learned a lot of things in the past. But they love the sport. They're always amazed about the United States. Also, they always intrigued about what's going on here in the States, because I went there for the major fly-ins every 2 years. They had this really huge flying, and I went there at least 8 times. So that means 16 years of those major flying in France. So they love the sport. They see a lot of that, and they are really impressed with the United States as well.
talk a little bit about the I think it was an attempt at a world record or an actual world
No, we
record.
did. We did a world record in Bassam. It's called Bassam at the time. You see, I've always tried to make as many pilots in the air. That was the flying. Every time we did the flying, I was trying to organize something special. So I did a lot of flying in my very early years. So in the United States, we did some record like this. We were putting all the way to 100 pilots in the air. So we were doing this, it was 15 years ago, at least. But when Europe learned about this, that I was doing this kind of stuff here, they said, hey, we're going to be a big flying air. Would you come and organize this for us? And I did. And we had 1 year, the record was almost close to 300 pilots in the air.
300 in the air at the same time,
Yeah.
sharing the same runway.
Yeah. It was the same big giant field.
Yeah.
And then it was very impressive. And there's a few incidents, but no accident or major things that happened. And we did that, and we were trying this every almost 2 years because I was invited to to be organizing this event with these guys. They were in charge of the flying. I was in charge of the attempt at the world record, we call it.
Yeah.
And we did it. Nobody has done it ever since.
And the guys come up and they have the world record plaque and they tell you congratulations.
Oh yeah, we had the world record in Bassam. It's called Bassam, and it's been happening in France. And it was many countries. There was not only France. It was the United States, Germany, Italy, Spain, England. And there's a lot of countries that go into that big flight.
Okay, guys, we're gonna have to step up our game. Is it 300 we have to beat?
Oh yes, yeah, it would be 300. But they had almost 500 pilots at that flying.
Oh my word.
So to bring all these people together, and not everybody wants to do the record, but it was for me a nice way to say, well, we leave something behind. We did a record. I was in charge of it. So it puts my name out there and I was happy to do it.
That is incredible.
We did it.
So you flew with, and I'm kind of cutting into the some of the meat of our show, but you flew with National Geographic in Kamchatka, Russia, over the most active volcano. Talk a little bit about that.
That's quite a while ago now. I don't remember, 2000, Elizabeth, what was it? Kamchatka, Russia. I'm losing tracks. But anyway, I'm approached by a German guy who's working for National Geographic. He's a paramotor pilot. He's looking for a tandem pilot to go to Kamchatka in Russia. So he's asking me, I said, well, it's nice. It's very flattering to be asked, because you probably have a few pilots in Europe as well, right? Why me? Well, I didn't know, but they knew me at the time over there by magazine and whatever. There were not too much internet. But that guy contacted me, said, Eric, would you be part of our team? I would like you to come for almost 1 month. I said, I cannot go there 1 month. I have a school to run. I was in the summer in Canada. But finally, we agreed for 3 weeks, and I went with National Geographic in Russia. And I was a pilot to film. And the crew, there's a nice crew. We had everything that we needed, helicopter and everything. And then we were at 5,000 feet. That was our base camp. And the idea was to fly over the highest volcano. That's where 11,000 something feet, cold. But I was flying there and I had to bring a cameraman with me. But it's not an easy job. So we did take off, but it was not easy to climb. It was difficult. We had a sponsor. It was Fresh Breeze at the time. That gave us all the material. And then we did a couple of filming and I flew over that volcano, but mostly alone. I could not climb at 11,000 feet with a passenger, but we did a couple of nice shots.
Nice. Cool. And they used that still camera photos for their magazine.
They did. And also they had a few seconds of what I filmed over the volcano, because once I was there, I took a few pictures, I took some film, and they used maybe a 30 seconds of my film, but they had their own because they were going around with a helicopter filming me flying.
Oh.
But it was not supposed to be me. It was supposed to be that German guy, the adventure. I was like the pilot, hired to be the double and the tandem pilot. Oh. And when I could not do the tandem all the time because it was too hard. There was volcano, rocks everywhere, uphill, downhill, 5,000 feet. You have somebody with a big camera to come with you for a foot lunge tandem. It was hard. So I did a few flights and I said, that's not going to happen, guys. If you want me to go and climb at 11,000 feet with that big camera and that guy, it's not going to happen. So I went alone to fly, and then they staged the movie. Like, okay, here's the German guy going for filming the volcanoes.
That's
a good experience. It was a great trip. One of my best trips.
I would like to see, if you've got a link to those pictures, I'd like to see those. That's pretty cool.
Eventually I'll find it.
I would like to, Craig Carson donated $100 to the show. Wow. Yeah. He said $100 for the 100th episode. Many thanks for your contributions to the sport. I rarely catch a live episode, but I've watched a lot of replays. Keep up the great work and fly and safe flying. Wow, I really appreciate that. Nice. Craig, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Craig, please send me your information. I want to send you a shirt, Paragliding Talk T-shirt, man. That's really kind, man. Yeah. Wow, kind of shocked me for a second there.
Well, you just need 10 more like this tonight and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Well, we typically get into some safety stuff. And many people come here to watch the show because they want to learn something that they can add to their safety tool belt. You've got probably one of the greatest track records, and you're still here and you're still training, and there people speak well of you in the sport. What do you contribute the longevity and your safe flying? Uh, what is it
Well,
that you would say that you've done?
first of all, I'm not a safe flyer, but I'm a safe instructor. I've always been a show off and a performer and a stunt guy, and this is who I am. I'm not hiding it. I still fly. I still can fly, but I stopped competing. I stopped pushing it hard, but I can still, fly well. But when I teach, I'm a different guy. Safety is the only thing. It's paramount. So what contributed to my longevity, I think, is teaching, taking the sport very seriously, and caring about people. It's not just about money. It took me years to make a living at this, and I'm probably one of the not so many that can say I make a living. I raised my two kids. I have a house in Florida. I immigrated from Canada. I got my green card. I did it, and I'm proud of it. But the fact that I didn't hurt that many people, and I didn't kill nobody yet. I'm still walking on my two legs after all the stunts that I did. So there was a mix of skills, luck, name it, but I never took the teaching lightly. It's very a serious game. So I did my job as a professional ever since I started teaching, and I keep doing it. That's probably why I'm still here.
What do you recommend for guys that are coming into the sport, newer pilots? Maybe they went through a school, or maybe they got some backyard training from a friend. Uh,
Mhm.
what do you recommend to those guys? What advice do you have for them?
They're always the same guys. They always make the same mistake. It's okay, but it's too much videos, too much info. They come to you in the school at the last resort. They try to teach themselves. They break something. They break their bones, whatever. They have fear. They should just go to school where you learn well how to fly and stop just trying to learn it from books, video, and everything else. But the fact that there's no law about this, they go on the cheap way. It doesn't cost anything. My friend will help me. I could tell you a story. I have enough story just to scare people about trying to self-train. It's not that it's not possible, but only 10 or 20 succeed. It's called survivors. They survive in getting about a year or two to get trained and not getting hurt or not dying or not breaking everything. But all the other story that you don't always hear, but we know about, they're still there. Those 75% who don't succeed, hurt themselves, die or break something, it's just very scary. So people should be humble enough. They should take a little bit of money and say, I'm going to go to see whoever, but the right person to teach me properly. And that's what people do. They repeat that same mistake again and again. They don't do that seriously.
There's a lot of guys that aspire to do this full time. It is and I'm talking about training. They
Mhm.
want to they want to have a school where they can do
Yeah.
what they dream to do
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
get paid for it, live that life. What advice do you have for those guys?
Poor guys. Dream and reality. I'm at the point right now in my career that I train instructors, I train trainers. But you know that I don't train very many. And you know why? It costs time and money. They don't take the time. They don't want to put the money. They only dream. They come from real estate dreamers. And that's all we're going to get school with dreamers. If you want to really have professional, why would it be different to become a good paramotor instructor than going 4 years to university to get a bachelor degree and maybe not even get a job? But they dream about this all the time. I want to become a commercial pilot. I'm going to spend 50,000, 100,000 to take my helicopter training. And after this, it's a big scam. They don't have a job, but they dream. They spend that money. And when it comes to paramotor, I just want to be a paramotor pilot. Oh, I want to become an instructor now, but I'm not going to spend 3 or 4 or 5, 6 weeks or 2 months. And in reality, to train a paramotor instructor takes months under the guidance of somebody with experience. And I'm not vocal in the internet. You never see me almost nowhere. I do my little business at my school, but when people come to see me, they treat it like king. whether they are students or want to be instructors. So I'm just finishing right now 2 instructors. They've been spending months with me. Every weekend they come 2 or 3 days, local guys. These guys will be USPP instructor, but they will have a little bit of difference. They will be trained and no bragging correctly, and as long as it takes. And then you're going to get their training title as an instructor. So if everybody would do that, it's a job, it's a career. Why would it be so different? So invest in that job, invest in this career, and you can make your dream come true, become a reality. That's and I'm very, I would say that. I don't even know how to say this in English, but I'm very strong about this because I see what's going on over there. After all these years, we repeat the same stories over and over again. We have different names, different faces, but different result, but it's always the same. Name me 5 extremely good schools in US. Just top of your head, 5 really good, competent schools. And then it's hard to find. You will find them, but you should name me 50 good schools in the US. That's where the sport should be. There's 50 states. There's 300 million people. So the business is right there. Learn how to do it right and do it. Simple, but nobody's doing it right.
What are the most common mistakes that you're seeing that instructors are doing? Major flaws in schools.
Okay, they don't care enough. They don't take responsibility. They don't know how to call the shots because they haven't been told how. They haven't learned how. And they always blame the student when they should blame themselves for not getting the result that they are supposed to. Student by default is screwing up. That's what he does. Student is scared. Students are under a lot of pressure. Those instructors sometimes cannot hold the pressure. And the student is a human being going through a lot of emotions, a lot of fear, a lot of highs, nice, and sometimes beautiful time also in his training. It's not just about being hard. But a lot of instructors, they don't do it, they don't care enough. They all say, yes, I care. But a lot of people do it for the money and they should do the shortcut to get to the result. And obviously, never enough flights. They never give enough flights. All we hear is the same lame excuse. Oh, I came to see you because we didn't have good weather. My instructor was a great guy, nice guy, but the weather was not so good. So I'm coming to see you because we didn't have time to get trained. So that's what's going on now with a lot of instructors out there.
Interesting.
They should care more.
When
they
you
should
say
invest their
not,
time.
you mentioned not enough flights. Are you implying that they don't give enough flights to the students, or are you saying that they themselves didn't have enough flights?
No. They don't give enough flights to their students.
Okay.
A good instructor doesn't have to be the top number 1 pilot. He has to be able to show his skills, because if he wants to teach something, he at least needs to be able to do it. Okay. But when you only give 6, 10, 12 flights to a student, you say, good luck. It's like giving you a weapon that you don't know how to use to say, go to war, good luck. See how it's going to turn out now. See if you're going to come back alive. So we teach people at the Army, we teach people at school. We should teach people in the paramotor school like a serious aviation business. That's my point.
Very good. We're at the half-hour mark. We're going to do a giveaway. Sean has been putting all the names that have been coming into the chat. If you've been chatting,
100.
Yep. 100 episodes. 100. I'm still. It's hard to wrap my mind around it. 100, really? 100 episodes.
Yeah. And congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And super fun. And I don't feel like it's been 100. Because it's so fun. Every week we have such a blast.
Here we go. Now this one doesn't count. This was a false roll, trying to get things in order here. Okay. Before we do the actual giveaway here, I want us to see.
No, look at who it landed on.
I don't know who it landed on.
It landed on Craig Carson, and he's the one that's getting a T-shirt. So that worked out good.
Well,
by the way, Craig, I need you to send me an email or send me your contact information and your shirt size. You can do it in the chat, or you can message me privately using Instagram or Facebook, or you can connect on the website paraglidingtalk.com and then go to the contact form, and I'll send you a shirt. Sorry, Sean.
No, I wasn't counting that spin though.
I know.
Because I was trying to pull this up here real quick. I want us to go through the names here and see if we have any doubles. Because I've been busting my rear since an hour before the show started because this chat started filling up. And let me tell you, the names go, and then I got to like scroll up and then catch up and then scroll back up.
Can
so
you readjust the screen share? If it seems like it's cutting part of the wheel out. I don't know
okay.
if it's zoomed in. Is it?
Well, do you see where my mouse is right here?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where the list of names I put in go.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so I'm going to have to scroll this. I'll scroll this up to the top and I'll scroll it down slowly. And you guys tell me if you see any doubles here because I've been putting them in left and right. So
ain't nobody got time for that. Roll that wheel.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
If they're double in
this
there.
is the big 100.
Sean, just roll it, Sean. Jeez.
Okay.
They earned it. But we don't even know what they're going to win right now. What are we giving away?
I don't know. Wait, that's why it's important to not have doubles.
The 100th episode.
Yeah.
That'd be
Look at
good,
all these
Larry.
people.
My word. How many people are watching? 70 people are watching.
Yeah.
Wow.
We need more than 28 thumbs up.
Why is my name in there?
So you all ready? I got everybody's. Anybody's been in there, they're in there. Yes.
Well, I'm glad I'm in there just in case somebody else wants to give something away. We're going to give away a t-shirt for the 100th episode. I should probably I'll iron on that I won this shirt from the 100th episode.
I watched 100 episodes and all I won was this stinking t-shirt.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, you ready?
Spin away. I'm ready.
Wheel spinning. Here we go.
I kind of hope I win this one. Robert Michaels. Oh, so close.
Slow Days.
Slow Days. Are you serious? Slow Days won the chase cam last week.
Did he win it
yes.
last week? Are you sure?
And I'm almost positive he has a shirt already.
I know he's won something before.
Slow Days, congratulations. You are a magnet to winning stuff.
Congratulations, Slow
Or
Days.
you just paid off Sean and he rigged it for you.
No. If that's the case, I want my bowl of rice.
That is so awesome. You're joined also by David Wolf from the wonderful show on Sunday nights.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Called
Thanks
Paramotor
for
Nation.
inviting me on. It's only because you inspired us to do the show. So congratulations on 100 episodes and just thanks for all the inspiration you've done, man, and helping everybody be safe out there. We all appreciate it.
Have you seen Paramotor Nation? It is so fun. These guys, they make my show look like tea and crumpets. They have a blast over. He has a 100-foot tall monkey that he brings to fly-ins.
Not that big.
I got two monkeys that come every once in a while and come on the show in the background.
Back.
Yeah, scratch my back. You remember that show? Where is my little back scratcher?
Larry's got the monkey now, don't you, Larry? He's got it with him.
Oh, you do?
Unfortunately, it got damaged at the last fly-in, so Chris repaired it. It was a little bit too windy, and of course, we weren't paying attention. I don't know what we were doing.
We're drinking.
It got ripped, so we took it back, and I think it's about 35 feet tall. So we couldn't fit it in the sewing center. We actually had to bring a machine in the garage, and we repaired it. So now it's here.
So now the monkey's got a tail?
Well, I wanted to set it up and put Christmas lights on it, but the boss said, no, with your luck, it'll get blown in a tree and you'll have to buy David a new one. So blow it up.
Just give it a monkey tail so that way it's a windsock, you know?
Well, I was going to put some punching bags on another portion of it, but she wouldn't let me.
Not nice. Not nice.
I'm hoping that someday we can get enough resources to advertise using the gorilla's hands and holding a banner that says Paragliding Talk.
That's actually what it was made for. It's an advertising gorilla. We could do that.
I've got to have that. It's got to happen one day. I'm going to make that happen. We just got to
think
get
our
this show
next-
to go viral.
Our next fly-in we're going to have it at will be in Palm Bay.
Yes, that would be nice.
Eric, you're hosting Palm Bay, Eric?
I'm hosting it with Don Jordan, and one of our young, instructor.
I know
82
Don,
years
sure.
old. And yeah, we're going to do it again this year until somebody wants to do it in the following years, because I jump in the flying because nobody wants to do it last year. So I went with John and with Don, and we decided to do it. So this year again.
Well, we'll definitely be getting a booth there, and
Yeah.
like last year.
Well, we're expecting close to 300 pilots. So
We'll have the
Come and
big
see us.
monkey with us.
Yeah.
And if you ever need help with that, we'd be more than happy to get involved.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And we have many people offering, and then we're going to take them up to their offer, because it's a lot to do, but we'll do it.
That was actually the first fly-in that we broke our teeth and started Para Orange. So
Oh.
that was our first fly-in that we did, and it was a huge success for us.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. You deserve it. You're doing a
Thank you.
nice job, and hopefully this year again, it will be better. We'll see.
It's going to be great, I'm sure. Robert, too bad. I'd love for you guys to come from the West Coast out to visit us. That is a great place to fly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Eric says, being an instructor, you don't get to fly as much as you'd like to because you're so busy training. And when we go to fly-ins and have the booth set up, it's not a time for fun for us. We're working constantly. I don't ever get in the air because we're busy at the booth. But Palm Bay seems like a great place to fly.
It looks nice. I see the videos every year. It looks really fun. I'm kind of inspired to try to beat that world record. It seems like some of our fly-ins have 300 pilots.
Well, it's not easy to do because many pilots are not too interested in doing this. They find that it could be a bit dangerous, and it is a serious business, but it takes away from the fly-in, because when you do that record, you need to have all the pilots ready to jump in, and that all the other pilots don't care about it. They just want to fly. So
Yeah.
it's difficult. It's either you do a world record, but doing it at the fly-in, it's difficult.
That's a big deal. I think
Yeah.
he's just saying it because he doesn't want us to break his record.
Oh, you should, and you could. I have another record I'd like you to break in California. That would be nice.
We've got some record breaking going on here. This
Yeah,
last year there was some
I'll give
big
you
records.
another one. I'll give
Yeah.
you another one. Okay?
Okay.
I challenge you.
Okay.
The number of flights in one day,
Number of flights in one day. Okay.
paramotor flights.
By one pilot, Eric? By one pilot or
Yeah,
multiple?
well, you can have 5, 10 pilots. You take foot launch, of course, and number of flight you can do either nonstop during a day is 194.
Wow. That's
And
a lot.
it was done by late James Farrell, the brother of Eric Farrell that died 2 years ago. And it was done after I decided to do this. It was my record. They said Eric Dufour beat my record. My record was 122. Mind you, I'm 64 now, but I did 122 one day, and I asked people, hey, during the flying, I'd like to see a few guys try to beat my 122. And James beat that. There was only 5 or 6 pilots.
Eric, what constitutes a flight then? Is it a
Okay.
touch and go? Is
No,
wing has
no,
to
no.
come down to the ground?
That's too easy. Take off, 360, sit down, land. That's it. You can do it 360 in 10 seconds. It's okay.
Does the wing
Take
have
off.
to drop?
Yes.
You actually
Wow.
have to pack it in a bag too.
An orange bag. An orange bag.
No,
And it's got to be an orange bag.
yeah, but
Orange
no.
bag.
The orange spot, because we have also the number of spot landing on the target, the number of consecutive flights in how much time. So the winner is the guy who flew the most flights in the normal time, and we give plaque. I did that 1 year. And last year I asked people to do it, but nobody showed up. So it's okay. If I'm not going to do it again.
That's probably hard. You spent the whole day flying.
Well, no, it's just a window. It's nice and windy. You do the reverse until it's too windy, and you can nail at least almost 100 flights in 1 hour.
Okay,
If you really do it.
here's the question everyone wants to know. What do you think about free flight?
I love free flight. It's just I never lived in a place where there was enough mountain to do free flight. I flew in La Salina in California. I flew in Europe as well. But I'm mostly a motorhead because that's what I do for a living. But I love free flight. Yeah, obviously.
What wing do you choose for free flight?
I never had any brand. I just take a
Really?
regular. No, I never, because I'm not into free flight enough. But when I do, I take the right wing to stay aloft, and I do dynamic. I don't do a lot of thermals because I never have time to leave to go and chase thermals.
What about France? I mean, everybody free flights in
True.
France.
But when I go in France, it's always for paramotor. I'm visiting schools. I'm going to fly. And when I have a chance, I go to Annecy and then I go to free flight.
Hmm. Interesting. You need to come to California.
I know. I know Torrey Pine. I know Little Black. I know La Salina, but I never spent a lot of time free flying.
Okay.
Unfortunately. So, yeah, but there's a lot of good school in free flying and paragliding as well. But I'm not. This is not my top. I'm mostly a motor guy.
You won first place at the U.S. Nationals paramotor competition 3 times. Got first place for spot landing with an engine out, and that was in 2002. Maybe talk about that a little bit. And where do you see the sport going? What do you see the future of the sport competition wise for paramotoring?
Unfortunately, in US, competition is not doing well. Never done. In Europe, it's pretty strong. But we're trying to, not me, but some people are trying to revive competition in US, but to go abroad, to go in France, to compete with the FAI competition, the real one, the one that are sanctioned for the world record. So a few people now are trying to do again competition here to bring a US team in Europe. As far as in the US, it's always 10, 15 guys that like to compete and very good skilled pilot, but we're not going anywhere in competition in the US, unfortunately.
Interesting. Have you set up any competitions here?
Yes, a while ago, yes. I always did competition during my flying. I was always trying to get a competition going. And speaking of going, pun intended, Jeff Going was also a US champion. And Jeff and I, we compete together against each other, but we did organize as much as we could in terms of trying to get all the pilots interested in competing in US. But like I said, it never went big. Go wonder why.
The Icarus race in the United States, have you had any involvement with that?
No, I thought that for me to go to campground, at 60 years old, to go to places and then travel and have an engine out, it's not too much my big thing anymore. But if I was a little younger, yes, I would do that.
Okay. And I guess I want to open up the chat if you have any questions. By the way, if you're just tuning in, it seems like a whole bunch more people jumped on. Eric Dufour is a legend in the sport and just has an incredible history in the sport, paramotoring, free flight, all the above. Go check out his website if you want to look at his accolades. He's got them listed on the Who Am I or whatever, the link that's on the website. Go check that out. And he's got a school and all kinds of good stuff for pilots on his website. The link is in the description. If you have questions for him, we'll take a few minutes. And if you're one of the moderators, you have questions, I'd be interested.
I got a question on the chat here from Ethan Vance. He was asking, what are paramotor schools like in France, and do they have something similar to the US PPA? Okay. Also, I would love to hear about an experience that may have humbled Eric.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, there's a few things, of course, that did humble me over the years. But I would say in France, they need to have a license, first of all, okay? So the French or the European are very strong in trying to get the licensing first and maybe the flying after. So I would say there's nothing to be ashamed in US as far as schools, because although in Europe, they are more organized, like the German and the French, but the end result is poor. I mean, the quality of pilots, they're not that great. In the paragliding, it's a completely different world. But I'm speaking about paramotor only. You have a lot of schools in France, many thousands of pilots as well. I do have a lot of friends there. I go a lot, but what they see here, or at least when they come to see me in some other good school in the US, we have nothing to be ashamed because in front they have a lot to learn. They're more about paperwork, licensing, and they call it the brevet, the license. And as far as flying, 6, 10 flight, good to go. 6, 10, 10 flight, maybe 15, good to go. So it's the same problem everywhere, but in France also, it's not that great of a result in front. Many school, but not so many great pilots. And when you go to flying, you see that too. It's simple. You go to flying, you see, what are these guys? Where have they learned not to be able to take off like this? And that's the same thing all over the world almost. Same problem.
Ethan asked the question about
the humble.
humbling experience. Yeah.
Well, a couple of close calls, I would say, that really put you back on earth and saying, well, after all, you know, I'm not immortal. I've been really blessed and lucky to still be alive, but I did almost everything I could to kill myself without wanting to do it. But like I said, I got away with it and never got hurt, never really badly. But I did have a humble moment where I screwed up big time. That brings me back to think that when we have one life, we have to be careful. And when you get older, I guess if you're still there, then a combination of luck and skill, but you cannot just test your skill to that point. So yes, I did have a few moments where I really nicely screwed up. So I could tell other story, but it would take too much time, but everybody goes through all this. So I've been fortunately not to hurt myself yet.
Greg Anthony Harris, he fairly new pilot. He said, Eric, I'm based in Quebec and just did my first flight a few weeks ago. I'm desperately want to fly through the winter. What advice do you have for me?
Come to see me in Florida.
I knew what I was going to say. Move to Florida.
No, in Quebec in the winter, that's terrible. There's not a lot of fun. But the maniac over there, which I was one of those too, they will take a 10 minutes, get cold, and this is it. I mean, I flew one time this week. It was minus our degrees, maybe 15, 20, which is about 10 euro degrees. It's terrible. And I had enough of all this. That's why I came here. So for me, going to fly in the cold, no, forget it. I won't do that anymore. But if you want to fly in Quebec, there are places. Find a nice frozen lake where you can run with not too much snow. And if you don't fall, then you got to go up in the air. And some people have a heated glove, and they have even some light miniature generator. The guys in Quebec are pretty smart. They did some nice little generator that they put under that pulley, and they run electric in their glove, in their suit, and everywhere to fly in the winter with a full face. That's how maniac they are. They like to fly. But the best thing is to come to Florida, right? Or California.
Yeah, California's fine too.
Yeah.
Eric, I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
when you spoke a little bit about the trainers and training trainers, and you spoke to us in Florida at the Swanee Fly-In. So one question I would want to know is, you know, when you're talking about instructors that have had months and months of training and not just fly by night, how do I, as a new person, go looking for an instructor like the ones that you're referring to that you want us to look for? Ones that have that substance and longevity of learning how to become a trainer.
You mean your question is how do you find these guys, or?
Yeah, how would I seek those folks out?
Well, once you see them on the list of the USPPA, you say, well, you're a USPPA instructor. Good. How long has it been, and where did you learn from? And,
okay.
And it's like a student, you know, if you're proud of your student and you say, where did you learn? How long have you been flying? It's only 3 months. I got 65 flights. Where have you learned? Okay, I've learned at that place. Okay, it speaks for itself. So that's where you find those guys. Usually,
I think that's what
the USPPA.
That might have been maybe my own confusion, because I didn't know if that's what you're saying. Like USPPA instructors, they have gone through enough training that you would consider them well trained and those are good trainers.
No, I'm not saying they have enough training. A lot of USPP instructors would need more training, but they do train. But they should do more. That's what I'm thinking. They should have more training to train better.
Very good answer.
Eric, I have to ask you a question. About approximately 6 weeks ago, I was watching a television show called Airplane Repo.
Yeah, I did.
And
I
it's
did
seeing
train.
that you trained
Yeah,
one of the local repossession people that I think he lives in Tampa.
Mr. Kennedy.
Kennedy, yes.
Yeah.
Is he a parapilot, or did you just did you train
No,
him for that?
I had a 2 days window, maximum 3 days with the
Wow.
crew to solo him safely so he could fly and do his show. And the story was he was going to go and repo a plane using a paramotor to land and steal the plane. Obviously, 2 days is not enough, but we had him in the air safely 2 or 3 times. And I did double him to do that sequences that require more experience to take off and land. But yes,
I did see him do a launch.
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. And after I dressed like him, put his jacket in his boots, and they took me from, and then, yeah, repo. That was another story.
That was, I said, I can't, I actually called Chris and I said, you're not going to believe who's on the screen.
C'est quoi son premier nom? The guy, what's his first name? I'm sorry, I have a
I know
blank
it's
here.
Kennedy. Kennedy is his
Kennedy.
last name. Yeah. He's
Very nice guy. Very nice
yeah,
guy.
I think he lives in Tampa.
Yeah, he does. A very nice, interesting person, and he went all over the world. It is the show. He was very famous. There, people recognize him, and we had a good time. He was very skilled, very humble. That's what I like. You take stars or a personality, but they're humble. They go to see you because you're the person to teach them. And this guy did really, really well in only 2 or 3 days.
I don't know if anybody got to see that show, but if you do
I
get
heard.
the opportunity,
Yeah.
they rerun them constantly.
Yeah.
What show is that?
It's called, I think it's Airplane Repo.
Airplane repo.
Airplane
Interesting.
Repo. And
Yeah,
it's about people
Mike
that,
Kennedy.
Mike Kennedy, that's it.
Mike Kennedy. Yeah.
The show is about people like John Ripa who buy airplanes and don't pay for them.
See, I
But it's
was
about people
wondering.
who buy airplanes and they don't, just like buying a car, they don't pay for them. And
I
I
don't
was
know that
wondering
story.
who was. I was wondering who was responsible for my airplane coming up missing the other day. Thanks a lot.
Heck,
Did they have to?
it's funny to watch, actually.
Did they have to repo plane?
No,
Sorry, John. I had to pick on you, John.
Yeah.
okay.
Those are nice guys. He's from Florida. I see him sometimes, and he flies on the compound also with us.
Oh, you fly at the compound too?
Sometimes, yes. It's
All
only
right.
15 minutes from the airport where I am. 15, 20 minutes.
Ethan Vance has joined us at Santa's workshop.
That
Hey,
season,
Ethan.
right?
I heard the flying wasn't so good today, but it should be good tomorrow. Are we going to go flying tomorrow?
I'm giving it another shot.
Okay,
We
good.
did get skunked today. I hiked up twice and had
What time did you go?
I got there at like 12:30 and launched about 1:30. Hiked up
Okay.
again, launched again at like 2:15. Nick Hawk
Okay.
showed up. Then he launched a little bit after that. Then he hiked up again. He launched
Okay.
and we all got
Sh-
skunked.
Should be better tomorrow.
Hopefully,
Sorry,
with more
I gotta-
sun days.
I haven't been able to fly, but it's supposed to be just no clouds tomorrow, so we should be good.
Yeah, there was
Sorry,
definitely high horsetail cirrus clouds in when we got there.
This is an important conversation I'm having here, and I know everyone's watching, everyone's waiting for the most important information. I did have a question, and slipped my mind. It's about
So let me ask you a question then.
yes.
So it's very exciting show. I'm not a lot on the net or YouTube, all this stuff. I don't watch much of this,
Yeah.
but I knew about your show. So tell me a little bit about where this idea come from. And usually it's called paragliding, but you mix paramotor with this show too. And
Yes.
what's your background?
So the foundation of the show was I made a huge mistake pushing my abilities over about 6,000 feet over a site here in Southern California called Palomar. And a video that you'll find on the web. I'm sure you've already seen it because it went viral. But I made some big mistakes and had a cascade, and everything was fine. I fixed it before it got too low, and I flew away. I was dizzy and discombobulated, and I said, I realize I need to know way more than I know about this sport. And I began just digging and searching and talking to as many people as I possibly could. And I just never could satisfy all the questions that I had. And I felt like some people were just kind of running out of patience with me. And I remember I used to ride a motorcycle. And sometimes when I would try to fix my motorcycle, I would just go to YouTube and find videos on certain motorcycle guys that knew. And they had a talk show just like this, but it was for repairing motorcycles. And I would go, and it was on Friday nights, and I would go and watch it. And I remember seeing all these guys that I knew from the web. And I said, man, that's an interesting thing. And they would have people asking questions in the chat. I said, I could create a show where we could hang out, and we could probably learn something that would keep us from maybe dying or having a cascade like I did. And so I thought, well, I'd need a website, and then I need to have a place where we can come every week. And that's where it started.
That's interesting. It's a good thing. So you've been doing this for a while now, right?
100 episodes.
100 episodes. And you
Every
only
Thursday.
paraglide? You paramotor also?
I have done. Phil Russman gave me some instruction. I also flew with a guy named Chris Dewey. He helped actually start the show. And very interesting.
So you do both? Are you mostly a paraglider
I don't have
guy,
a
or-
motor. I don't
Okay.
have a motor, and I can't justify spending the money on it. I'm waiting for this sweet deal to come along, but I'm just usually after work, as soon as I get home, I take my gear, go straight to Blossom. Blossom, I assume. I go straight to Blossom. I live right down the street from Blossom. So free flight is my
That's good.
passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love paramotoring too. Ethan, he free flies and he has a paramotor. He's got a history of it.
I
Yeah,
met
both can be
Eric
interesting.
at Beach Blast in 2015. Same
Yeah.
event that I met Phil Russman at, actually.
Okay, a beach blast. Yeah, well, too bad they don't do it anymore.
I know, it's a bummer,
Yeah.
but I moved to California, so life's okay.
Smart.
Yeah, I understand. If I lived in California personally, I would free fly as much as I could. Here, to do a bit of thermal, I need to go for a towing payout place, a club, and I don't have much time for this because I'm involved in teaching paramotor flat ground. That's all I do.
Yeah, it was similar. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and while I lived there, I was missing free flight paragliding, so I got into the paramotoring.
Okay.
But I've never made any money doing either of them. I just do it for fun, recreationally, and love.
Oh, because you wanted to do it professionally as well?
No, probably not.
It's not that easy.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll get my tandem license.
Yeah.
For free fly paragliding, but I then there's a lot of things with the insurance and whether or not it would be worth it to. So.
Well, it's a big decision, but that one day can come anytime. The sport is growing, and it needs better tandem pilot, better instructors. So I see a great future in this sport. We're not going backward. We're going ahead. That's for sure. We're going slow. That's all I can say. If we compare with skydiving, we're maybe 10, 15 years behind skydiving, but we're following the same progression.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a bummer, like you were talking about earlier, that there's no real paramotor competitions in the United States. I think if there was a little bit more, then maybe
incentive
the sport could grow even faster. But yeah, it's sensitive. And I think the biggest form of competition, like you're talking about, that happens in France is the slalom, which
that's all. Yeah.
Which can be very dangerous. I've always thought when I was getting into paramotoring in Atlanta that now that we have drones, we should raise the slalom racing up. We should basically have balloons or pylons that are then like floated in the sky. I actually saw recently a YouTube video of some FPV drone pilots that they had gates that they were elevated because they were being dangled from other drones. But I think we could just have these drones that go up and they put the pylons and they'd be 300 or 400 feet in the sky. And then instead of doing a slalom race right on the ground, they'd be doing it.
That's not a bad idea. Now you could tear it up around the drone. If you have a collapse, at least you could have a chance.
That could be very scary, right? Get chopped up in a drone, but we've already got motors and spinning blades behind us. So
yeah, but you could go at least higher in the air to do all your stuff.
Yeah, it takes the impact risk of turning very closely to the ground. But
at least now they're doing it over water. That's not so bad. Before we did it over ground.
Oh,
Yeah, they did for many years, and it was
Oh.
scary to watch the videos of.
Even in the United States, we had not pylon racing. We could call it stick. We had stick instead of pylon, but we were not even 10 feet from the ground and going around those sticks like crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's a ground spiral or death spiral. Was what we
Pretty much.
people call
That's
it.
what
And
it is.
yeah, and it's I think for the risk reward is, as a recreational pilot, is not there to do that. But if I could go and do that, 500 feet of over the ground where I have a safe reserve altitude,
Yeah.
you could
then it
do
would
it
be really
with
fun to practice that. It's really fun to do spirals when you're way up high.
just take
Yeah.
the pylons and fill them with helium.
Helium. Yeah.
And then run cords up.
Mhm.
Yeah, but then you have the issue that you're going to hit this line that's going up. That would be very, you can't run into a big string that's attached to something. That's why I think
Yeah.
if you could have some, like you say, a helium in the pylon to help it float, but then have a drone that just holds it in place, because it's just, they have these GPSs in the drone, so you can just tell it, hey, you stay right here at this spot over the field. You could do that with 5 of them, and then you'd have this little slalom course, but it'd be way up high.
And you could do it where the drones were kind of at the base or something like that, just to keep it,
just to stabilize it.
Yeah.
And the pylons are big. The paramotor pylons are like 16 feet tall or bigger. They have a
big
big
20. Yeah.
And
20
you could put lights on the drones and then have the light shine through the pylon that it's holding up, and then it could glow while you're flying around.
It'd be like real life Quidditch, we're getting there.
we're getting there.
Um,
Jetsons. I say Jetsons, and people are like, "What's a Jetsons?"
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Rosie the Maid, but
Right. Yes. Well, we're at that 1 hour mark. Thank you so much. I really want to just say that I appreciate everybody who's been a part of the show from the beginning. Some of these guys have been with every episode. If you see a tool next to the guy's name, it's because they've been exceptional and they've been involved in the show for a long time. There's a couple guys that have been here from the very first episode. Craig Couch is one of them. Really appreciate you, Craig. And you're faithful every week. I see you in the chat before the things. Is it Atheon? I always say it wrong. He's always in the chat just before the show starts. There's a couple other guys that are typically Bob, you're always there. Really appreciate you guys, and just you bring an inspiration. All the moderators, Anthony, Sean especially, thank you for just being consistently there. He's never missed an episode, never missed an invite.
Sean had short hair when you started.
Sean had short hair when he first started. Yep.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you guys for being a part of it. Paramotor Crazy and your team. I really appreciate what you guys are doing over there, and you're always so positive and just I see the promotions and I hear your shout outs. I don't get to watch every episode because I'm usually at church, but I really appreciate what you guys are doing over there and extending the safety and just what we have in the sport. I think it's such a precious thing. And the reason why we have this show is because we want to keep it precious, and we want to, we all have families, want to come home, and we've got to learn things. Sometimes we're stubborn, man. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way. But at least we can take at least something, even if it's something small. It might, save your life. And I do want to give just a very special thanks to these guys. Thank you again, Craig Carson, for your $100 contribution to the show. That's very humbling. And also all the people that support the show. Craig Taylor, he had you guys. I don't see him in the chat. I don't know if he's still on or not. I can't see his face. Oh yeah, he is still. I was gonna say some things about you. I guess I have to tell him anyways. This Craig has just brought just a huge blessing to this show, and he's been coming on every week. He's the biggest Patreon supporter of the show. He's making labels for the wings. He's supporting people that come in. He supports Resurgence PPG. I just heard tonight that he sponsored 2 candidates for Resurgence PPG. There's going to be a big announcement, but I'll just give you a little sneak peek. The goal for 2020 is to get 20 pilots, 20 candidates taken care of. And so we've already got 2 in the barrel. And I'm excited to participate in that. And there's going to be some big things coming up. I'm excited about that. And just really appreciate prison ministry, Craig Taylor, Mike Fogel. I really appreciate everything that you're bringing, Craig, and your contributions, man. I don't take it lightly. And I'm just excited to have you as a friend. And so thanks, everybody. We're going to call this a wrap. We're going to go to the after show. If you're one of the subscribers to the Patreon or PayPal and you want to join, just message me. I'll send you an invitation. Check your emails. I sent out a lot of invitations already. If you didn't get one, I sent out a bunch. And if you wanted to jump on, you're welcome to. And maybe you wanted to talk to Eric, and he's probably going to stay on for a few more minutes because it's late over there. And I do want to say, listen, Eric, I really appreciate you coming on the show, making the 100th episode so fun.
Thank you.
Informative.
Thank you for having me on your show. And 100, that's nice. I will remember which one now because 100 is a nice number.
Yeah. and hundreds more. We'll have this show for a long time.
I hope you had 100. You had 70 a little while ago. Maybe you hit 100 by now.
Yeah. They were cranking. They were coming in. It's bad weather in a lot of places, so these guys are not flying. Yeah.
Well, thank you anyway, and thank you for everybody now that I just met. And David, I met you before, and Para Orange, and a few other guys. Hope to see you in Florida sometimes or in California.
Yeah, definitely look me up if you come to California. We'll have to fly together if I'm out there in Florida. Definitely, we'll have to hang out. And glad to meet you. And so thank you again, everybody, for coming on. And we'll see you next week. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in the air, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Episode
Night.
100. 100.
Good job, Robert.
100.